Boxing King Media in association with the Riyadh season. Mr. Teddy Atlas, it's the day after the night before. Quick question, did you get any sleep?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, let's jump onto the boxing. A brilliant night of boxing. I'll try to concentrate on a couple of fights. I want to get your expert opinion. Deontay Wilder. So many narratives about his performance. People are saying he's never been the same since the Fury fight. Sometimes people take credit away from people like Zhang, who's just beat him, and Parker. What was your assessment of the Deontay Wilder we saw last night?
No, I mean, everybody, no matter what you do, you too. There's a window on how long you can do it. There's going to come a day you can't do this no more. It's not as rough as it is in boxing, so it'll be a while. But I was telling someone before that I have a very good friend who's the best hand surgeon in New York. He just had to retire. He didn't want to retire, but it came that point. It comes that point for everyone, where the window closes, where the door closes, where it's time to move on. Everyone, no, not just fighters, anybody. And obviously that moment, if it's not here for Deontay, it's close. And it's up to him and his family to decide. But if you're asking me, yeah, you would want to think about that in a very serious way. Because boxing takes something out. It's an unforgiving business. It's a great sport, but it's an unforgiving business. I always say that the reason I used to fight for the fighters so much when I was doing 20 years with ESPN, and when they get robbed and I would go nuts, the reason was because I understood that every time a fighter gets in that ring, potentially he's leaving a piece of himself in that ring. And because of that, I would fight for the fighters and say, you can't rob them, you can't do that. Because when you do that to them, you force them to go in the back of the line, take all those punches to get back to where they were to take care of their families. Deontay Wilder, there's no doubt that the Fury fights, they left something in the ring. They both did. All fighters do. And at this point now, he's already considered it. He's not stupid. He said it on the stage the other night. If I lose this fight, this might be my last fight. So, and it's the responsible thing to do, because why did you take all that risk and get in that chamber of truth, in that squared circle, and come out with less of yourself sometimes? Why do you do it if you're not going to reap the rewards of what it brings you, and for you and your family? And now sometimes it comes a time where it's time to take those rewards and go and enjoy your life with your family, because that's why you did it. That's why most fighters do it, the risk to get themselves to a better place for themselves and their families. And when you get to that better place and it's time to go, it's time to go. And I only hope the best for him. I hope the best for all fighters. Anyone who could get in that ring and take that risk, I hope they get out in time. And I don't look at it the way other people do, like a sad occasion. I look at it like, thank God he's accomplished so many things that he wanted. He was a bronze medalist in the Olympics. He was a world champion. He's made a lot of money where he can take care of his family. That's not sad. What would be sad is if he was leaving the sport after all that and he didn't have money. He didn't have or accomplish those things to feel good about himself and take care of his. That would be sad. And if he got hurt, that would be sad. So I would celebrate his career and say, enjoy your life now.
It's a very good assessment. Last question, Daniel Dubois. People were comparing his style to Mike Tyson last night. You obviously trained Mike, so you could give us a bit of an insight. They were saying the way he was walking Hrgovic down, no fear, just letting bombs go, and he was a big underdog in that fight. A reflection on his performance, comparisons to Mike, and also if he fights Anthony Joshua in September, based on what you saw, what happens?
There's one Mike Tyson, so I wouldn't make a real comparison. Why? Because he's aggressive, he's strong. A couple of times he weaved his head a little bit. No, I wouldn't make that comparison, but I wouldn't want to make that. I think that would be taken away from him. As great a fighter as Mike Tyson was, I would say, you know who I would compare him to? Daniel Dubois. I would say he's Daniel Dubois. He's himself. He's who he's supposed to be. He's who his trainers have helped him get to. His trainers have done a great job. They believed in him. They stuck with him. And he's done a great job. I would say, no, it didn't remind. It reminded me of the real Daniel Dubois. What do I mean by that? I don't think you ever saw the real Daniel Dubois. Well, his two biggest fights against Joyce, he was winning. Against Usyk, very competitive. I know there was controversy, but very competitive. And he came up short. He couldn't get over the hump. When push came to shove, he wasn't able to have the resolve, quite frankly, that he needed to have to overcome what he had to overcome, to find a way to just mentally persevere and get through it. And then he had the Miller fight. And you know what the Miller fight was? That was about Daniel Dubois, nothing else. It wasn't about what he was getting paid. It wasn't about what was going to go on his record. It was about one thing. It was about redemption. It was about Daniel Dubois being happy with Daniel Dubois, with being able to live with himself the rest of his life, knowing who he was, knowing that he could overcome things, he could persevere, he could behave like a champion. You know, it's one thing to fight like a champ. You got to behave like one. That's the key. And that fight for me, that was his life. That fight was for his life. I don't mean to breathe oxygen. There's different ways of looking at life. I mean to be able to live as the man he wanted to live as, to feel proud of himself, to know that he was that person. That's what the Miller fight was, and that's what he proved. And he redeemed himself. He fought like a warrior in that fight. Took too many punches, but it wasn't about that. It was about not breaking down, not giving in. And he didn't. And he showed the character of a champion in that fight. And he carried it into this fight. That's why he won this fight. He got hit a lot of right hands early on. You know, maybe the old Dubois, maybe, I don't know, but maybe he doesn't persevere. This one does, because now he is the complete package. Now he is the Dubois who behaves like a champ, just doesn't fight only like one, where people say, oh, wow, he's got all the assets, all the physical tools to be a champion, but how come he comes up short? Now he's got everything, because he has the belief in himself and the mental endurance and determination to not break down. And that's what you saw. That's why he won that fight. So, you know, I'm comparing him to the new Daniel Dubois, the right Daniel Dubois, the Daniel Dubois that God meant him to be. Everyone has a different journey to get to the right place. His journey was what it was. He had to go through those losses to get to this place. And he got to this place, and I'm happy for him. He's a good person. He's a good person. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his trainer. I'm happy for his people. And it'll be very interesting now, because he is this person now. It will be very interesting with him and Joshua.
Mr. Sorry, I've got something stuck in my throat, but generally appreciate your time. I know you got a flight to catch. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon, and thank you for that breakdown.
My pleasure.